Hi, I'm Bradford Werner from This is Classical Guitar, and I'm here to give you a lesson today on using videos of yourself as a tool for practice evaluation, but also as a sense of accomplishment in the practice room and when you're practicing at home. I'd like to thank Colin for having me on the channel. We're doing like a little video swap, so I'm going to record this lesson for his channel, and he's going to do a video on my channel on recording tips for classical guitar. So if you're one of my subscribers watching this video, make sure you subscribe to Colin's YouTube channel. His videos are just fantastic. I've been watching all of them, and that's why I approached him to do this video swap. So just make sure you subscribe to his channel. His videos are just great. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to perform a little piece for you, or just like an excerpt of a piece, and then I'm going to go through a checklist of evaluations of myself, of my performance. And this is something you can do at home. You record yourself, and then you go through a little checklist where you evaluate yourself in a positive way, because even the best classical guitarists evaluate themselves in the practice room to improve their playing. And this is what teachers do when they watch their students. They watch their students and listen, and they go through kind of a mental checklist of what to look for and what to improve upon. So this is something that you can definitely do yourself. So let me perform that piece for you, and then we're going to re-watch it, and I'll narrate and point out some things that I think I should work on myself, using this video as an evaluation of my own playing. And then after that, we're going to talk about the idea of using videos as a sense of accomplishment for your pieces. So let's watch that video. So let's watch that video of me playing one more time, and I'll narrate as we go through it and just point out some things that I think I can personally work on in my playing. But as a general checklist, things we want to look for are basic technique. What's our posture looking like? I'm using a different guitar support than I have in the previous years, so I mean that can affect my posture. So I want to look at that, look at my right hand technique, look at my left hand technique, make sure my fingers are curved. Sometimes my pinky has a tendency to try to escape, so I want to make sure that that finger is curved and in position more often. We want to listen to the music and make sure the tempo and the rhythm is consistent and appropriate. We want to listen to the phrasing, the sustain of the notes. So sometimes, when you're playing, you're so distracted by what you're doing that you're not listening as carefully as you could, because you're thinking about what's that next chord shape, or you're just busy engaging with the piece in multiple ways. You're multitasking. So sometimes you'll forget to sustain a note for its proper value. But if you can listen to yourself and watch yourself while looking at the score, you might say like, I didn't actually sustain that note long enough, like in bar 7, that low F sharp. I'm suspecting that I'm going to point that out. Maybe I didn't connect that voice appropriately. So it's good to get away from yourself and get away from the multitasking aspect of your playing and just listen to yourself play while looking at the score and see like how musical am I being? How connected is the sustain and the voice independence? What's my articulation like? what's the historical performance practice like? Like, am I just playing this piece like every other piece with a metronome, or am I thinking of it in a historical way? What's my timbre and my tone and my sound production like? You know, you want to listen to that. Sometimes, again, we're so distracted we don't hear that, like, oh man, that A finger is pretty different than the other fingers in its tone. Maybe I can do something with my nails to adjust that. And the list could go on, but like you can look at stage presence too. Like, when I make a mistake or a buzz, do I like cringe? Do I like crunch up my face? We do lots of involuntary things when we perform, and especially things like when you make a mistake or you buzz. Like, do you acknowledge it with your face? Is it kind of an annoying thing that you do when you make a mistake? Because you could just play right through it, straight-faced, or you could even smile, but like it should be a positive thing. You don't want to be cringing every time you make a little buzz. And the list can go on and on. So you can make a list for yourself to check off, or create a mental list of things that you should watch out for in your own playing. But let's watch that video now, and I'll point out some things that I think I can work on in my own playing. There's a little bit of elevation in my left shoulder. Maybe it's caused by the guitar support, but I can definitely see just a little bit of elevation over in this shoulder, so that's something that I'll probably want to look out for. Probably for reasons of tension. Right hand looks relatively okay. I have a tendency to fold over on this side for tone, so could look into that, although there's a good separation between the thumb and the index. My left hand looks pretty good. Fourth finger curvature is sometimes an issue for me, but it's looking pretty okay at the moment. A little bit of locking there happening. So, you know, that's just something that I need to look out for a lot. When I'm looking at myself playing and I'm multitasking, sometimes I think it's curved quite well, but I can see there that every once in a while, just occasionally, it does tend to lock a little bit, to be a little straightened out. So I need to bring that palm in and curve it a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at some musical things. So let's watch that again. So I set up the rhythm by cueing myself in, so that's good. Pulse seems pretty good. Fairly relaxed phrasing, so I'm pretty happy about that. Sometimes I'm not happy with the way my chords taper at the ends of phrases. They pop out a little too much, whether that's the mic's just kind of picking up more than usual, but I think it also, I just need to soften up a little bit more at the ends of my phrases. Sustain and voice independence is pretty good, but I did notice that F sharp in the bass kind of not connecting to the next bass note. When you're playing something, it's so easy to miss that kind of stuff because you're just multitasking, but yeah, I have to be careful that all three voices in this piece, well, four voices, but comes and goes in this arrangement, but some voices I'm not always connecting as much as I could, so I could go back and just carefully listen for that a little bit more. Articulations seems fine. I mean, it's pretty legato the whole time in this case. So let's just take a look at one or two other things. Stage presence is pretty good. I'm not crunching my face up too much or anything like that. I'm moving a little bit with the phrasing, but nothing too extreme. I think if it was a duet, someone could probably follow my gestures, just as the audience can. Sound production, I think, is pretty good. Sometimes I feel like I could bring the bass out more. I'm a little self-conscious about mics picking up too much bass, but certainly a little bit more bass presence would be nice. And here my index finger sometimes doesn't sound quite as smooth as other fingers, so I could probably smooth that out just a little bit. So yeah, number of things to work on. Nothing too crazy, but nevertheless, especially those technique things like my posture and my right hand. I think those are definite things. My fourth finger, and then just like a little bit of tweaking of the sound production at the ends of phrases, and a little bit of tone control in the right hand. So a lot of the things that I pointed out, I could probably self-evaluate without video. I could catch it in my own playing. But, there's something about seeing yourself from the other side, and then that I don't notice how often I'm doing something. I don't know how often I might lock my pinky finger, or how much I should actually be on top of it. I'll notice it every once in a while but not worry about it. But then I see it in the video and I'm like, oh, I'm doing it more often than I think. So that's really helpful. It's like you can really catch yourself doing a number of things. And the other thing was, like, when I was watching the score and listening to that, there was a number of things that I will pay closer attention to, especially in terms of voice leading and sustain of notes. It's so distracting when you're playing you're thinking about the next chord shape and the difficulty of the piece, but getting away from the playing aspect and just listening to yourself purely and watching the score is like, oh yeah, I could pay more attention. I can work an extra week on like sustaining these voices consistently. So it's just such a useful tool to get away from your own anxieties sometimes and to dive into what can be improved. So the last thing I want to talk about is using videos as a sense of accomplishment for playing. This is something I've done with my students a lot. Sometimes if a student has performed work and they're not completely happy with their performance, or if they're not into performing and they're just practicing at home, but they want to have a sense of accomplishment with their piece. Sometimes when you're practicing a piece, you can kind of practice it forever. So you have to ask yourself, when is a piece finished? Like, when can I stop playing a piece? And for me as a teacher with my students, I often will say, like, well, let's record it. Let's do a video recording. Let's make sure we get it to the point where you're happy with it. Like, within reason, within your level, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be like good for your level. And you have to have improved upon something and worked on it a lot. And then you can use this as two things. You can use it as a sense of accomplishment to say, hey, I've brought this piece a long way. I'm pretty happy with this video. I'm going to move on to the next piece. Or you can just use it as a document of your progress. I wish I would have recorded every single piece I've ever played and just had it, even if I never watched it again, just had it as a document of my progress and just as something I did on guitar. That's a really positive thing. You can watch it years down the road and think about how much you've improved and everything like that. But really, like, as a sense of accomplishment, to record a piece is such a great thing. And of course, record it multiple times. First, record it and use it as an evaluation tool, and then make a list of what you're going to improve. Maybe that's some left-hand technique. Maybe that's some phrasing ideas, some sustain and voice independence. And then once you've accomplished those goals within your level, you have to be nice to yourself too, but within your level, you've accomplished some goals, record it again, and then you can say, like, I did something with this piece. I improved my playing. I'm pretty happy with it. And then you can either keep the piece in your repertoire, or if you want to move on, you can move on and do new repertoire. But you can't just ditch pieces arbitrarily. I think that every student and every player, when you're playing a piece, before you leave it, you should have some sense of accomplishment so you can feel positive about the piece and positive about your own experience with the piece. So I think video is definitely one way that you can do that, and you can do it in the comfort of your own home, and you can just do it for yourself. You don't have to put it on YouTube. You don't have to share it with anyone. You can just do this for yourself as a sense of accomplishment. So I think it's a real positive thing to do, instead of just kind of leaving a piece behind because you get sick of it or something like that, or frustrated, right? You never want to get frustrated with your pieces. So this is a great way to just have a sense of accomplishment. So thanks again to Colin for having me on the channel. And for all my subscribers watching this right now, just make sure you subscribe to Colin's great YouTube channel. His videos are fantastic, and I'm sure he has a lot more in store for us in the future. So hit that subscribe button.